New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. New Life Live is dedicated to transforming lives one at a time thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Hi everybody, welcome to New Life Live. So glad that you're with us right here today on New Life. And joining me in the studio is Dr. Alice Benton. Hi Alice, how are you?
Hey Steve. Honestly, I've been struggling with a little anxiety without great reason. Well, it doesn't make sense given things going really well in my life. So I was doing a little spiritual battle in traffic on my way here. I was saying out loud some of the scripture verses about anxiety, and I was praying about it. I'm feeling a lot better now. It worked.
That's good.
It worked.
That's good. Well, maybe you had anxiety because it was just going to be you and me today, and I think it's nice that they trust us with the program.
And I'm intimidated by you, so that adds
Are you really? Okay, well, we'll take care of that. Anyway, if anybody out there would love to join us, we would love to be with you here, and so hope that things are going well for you today. And, this, where in the world is June going? And we're, 2/3 through it. And one of the things my wife did at the beginning of the summer, it was just so great. She had these chores, these responsibilities, got these charts together, and it just really, how many, watching the kids, sit down, read the Bible a certain amount of minutes, and do all these different things. If you haven't done that, it's not too late. If you could just say, boy, we're going to make July the absolute most valuable July we've ever had in our family, then that July, being a new month, can be a rallying cry for you. Get it together. I wish I could just send you all the stuff she has done there, but I think it's important that we make those moments count in any way that we possibly can with those kids during the summer. So I want to encourage you to do that. Also want to encourage you to look into, if you have ever been hurt by a man with a problem with sexual integrity, that you would look into this amazing thing that we do called Restore. Now, Alice, you've been part of, I think, every one of our intensives, and maybe you could just tell folks about Restore and how powerful that is.
You can feel the change in the room from the first night to the last day because the women come in isolated, afraid, confused, hopeless. And they leave with a strong community of women. They leave knowing what they can do and what's in their power to do about their situation. And I get to run 2 groups of sustained healing groups of women who were at the weekend together and then have continued in the weekly coaching calls. So and the friendships help maintain them, and they just keep pursuing growth. And so many of their husbands have been influenced by the steps the women are taking, whether or not the men had originally gone to EMB. So many of them have come along with the women, and grace is just flowing through their families.
Well, a lot of times people say, well, look, I didn't do anything. I don't have a problem. Why should I go to a workshop? Well, having been on that side of all of that, where I was betrayed, I can tell you the bad news is he has a problem, but he's given you a problem you have to deal with. You don't have a choice. What is that problem? Well, no matter what, whether he is getting better, whether you guys stay together, you're going to have to forgive him. If you don't forgive him, then the pain of it all is going to just linger. You're going to watch stagnation occur in your life. It's not fair. Here it is. We have the pain of being betrayed. Now we have to have the pain of forgiving the person that betrayed us. But here's what's fair about it, is it is a gift from God that prevents us from having to go through that pain over and over every day. We can be free. If you're struggling with forgiveness, Restore is the place to stop the struggle and experience the victory. That's what God wants for you. I really believe that. We'll be back after this.
My wife asked me for the first time in 2011 if I would consider myself a sex addict, so I signed up. I'd read the Every Man's Battle book, and it was a great book, but the workshop It was the experience that really was key for me. If they go to EMD, they're going to be in good hands. You know, this is a safe place. They're going to be surrounded by men that simply walk the talk. The weekend leaders that they will go through this workshop with, they'll help them to get to the root of their issues. You know, I've been through a number of well-preached sermons, listened to and read countless books, been to a number of seminars, but EMB for me was a game changer. It truly saved my life. Being in this community, being in this workshop, being around these men will change them if they'll let them. You're going to encounter men that will meet you where you're at, and you will instantly walk into a safe place where they're welcome.
If you're struggling, call us. We don't want you to go on struggling. Just give us a call. It's 1-800-639-5433. It's 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back. Steve Arterburn here. Let's go to the phones. And how about we talk right here with Kristen, Tyler, Texas, Sirius XM Satellite Radio. Hi there, Kristen. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
Great. What's going on?
I just wanted to call in because I'm concerned about my son. I have a teenage son. He's 15. I've raised him alone with the help of family. He's a good kid, but he's very strong-willed, and he's going through. I know kids go through, you know, different things when they're teenagers, especially boys, and so. But I believe that he's having some more issues than just being a teenager. And
Like what? What issues?
I feel lost.
What are the issues?
He's very defensive. He gets offended very easy. You can ask him to do the simplest things, and everything is, you know, he knows everything, and he doesn't want to be in public around people. He gets kind of rude if people talk to him, and he's just kind of becoming like introverted. He hasn't always been that way when he was smaller, but I don't know. He does do some gaming and stuff. I've tried to limit that, but it does seem that his attitude changes. He just seems like a different kid.
Yeah.
And
well, all the research says that the more they're online, the worse it is. There's nothing. I haven't seen any study that says, "Hey, let's get those kids online gaming more," things like that. It does really seem to impact the sociability and the comfort in social settings of these kids that spend a lot of time online, and they feel entitled to it. And you know, you wouldn't let your child just sit around the house and smoke, most likely. And what I hear, you know, it's worse than a child smoking for their brain and for their social the social skills and sociability. So I think you're onto something there, that, you know, something in that area probably needs to be done, in addition to some additional input from men that, you know, aren't his dad, if there's no dad around. Alice, your thoughts here. What are you thinking?
Kristen, I wonder if it's hard sometimes to hold the line with your son, or hard to limit what you're willing to tolerate, and if any of that could be mixed in with guilt you might feel about his dad not being in the picture. Does any of that ever hold true for you with your son? Well,
Well, she, I think she dropped off there for some reason. Don't know why.
So I'll just speak in general about situations like this, because so many of us parents, when we see that our child has missed out on something that they should have had, having their dad in their life, we can feel guilty about it. Even if it's not your fault, you can feel guilty about it. And we can overcompensate by being too tolerant when it comes to our children's behavior. I don't know that that's the case for Kristen, but a lot of us can fall into that. So I would ask you to think about linking respectful behavior, respectful responses to you with some of these things that he enjoys doing that you're okay with him doing as well, that are healthy enough pursuits that you're willing to allow him to do it. I have to do this with my own son. He's 6, but he's struggling with something very similar of a disrespect and know-it-all attitude, and he can come back with some really harsh responses too when we ask him to do things. So I'll let him know, just like his mother. Yeah. I'll let him know in the moment, Henry, I'm willing to talk with you, and I'll even hear your disagreement when you can have a gentle tone of voice with me. Last night I had to ask him, step out of the room, please. Come back when you're willing to have a gentle tone of voice with me. And if he's not willing, and if it escalates, then I limit how much I'm willing to expose myself to his behavior. And I limit the privileges he gets to enjoy depending on how well he treats me. He's little, so it's different. But a couple minutes later, we were reading bedtime stories, and he was missing out. So a couple minutes later, he came back. He said, Mom, I'm ready to apologize. I'll be gentle now. And he sat down, and we had a much better time. But us parents, we have got to be on this and after them about this, and with a lot of prayer as well, because we can be ill-equipped to handle it on our own. This is a tough job.
It is not okay for him to be negative and disengaged or critical or not figure out a way to be enjoyable to be around in social settings. Not okay. So criticizing him for it doesn't help, but I just would never ever let anything that's in his past be an excuse to allow him to not develop the social skills that you need.
Well said.
Especially at 15.
Yep.
This is the time. It can turn really crummy, and you sure don't want that.
I'd add 2 other things to look into, because I'm seeing this combination more and more with young men, which is pot use and the gaming, and that so much time can be spent with those 2 things being a huge part of kids' lives. And I think there's a real spiritual toll depending on the kind of games that they're playing. I think a spiritual warfare starts to happen and can take territory in the hearts and the minds of our children if we're not cautious about what they're doing on the internet.
That's right. Kristen, you back on? I think you might be. Well, I hope she's
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. So anything else you want to add to what, or talk about or question about what we said?
No, our call was dropped. I caught just the last minute or 2 of what y'all said.
Okay, well, you can listen to it offline there, but I really want to encourage you to, have him meet the standard of acceptability that that is true, rather than, let him have his way with you, because he really does need to learn how to relate to other people and not let anything be an excuse, a phase. He's 15, all that young, don't do that. Don't let him off the hook. Keep him moving with great encouragement, great motivation, and limits. Great book called Parenting with Love and Logic is one that can work with a 15-year-old. Also, I'll send you How We Love Our Kids by Mylan and Kay. All right, let's go to, how about we talk to Susie from Seattle, Washington, listening to KNGW. Hi, Susie. How are you?
Well, I'm fine. How are you guys today?
We're all right. What is going on in your life?
Well, I came from a background of lack of love in our family. We all hated our father, and we were so glad whenever he wasn't home. And when each of the parents died, I know in myself, I didn't grieve either one of them. And so, in the process, I met up with your ministry in the 90s and received the healing and found the ability to take in love. So, in that process now, 22 years, I have come to realize that children somewhere have to make a change when they grow up in a family, loving or otherwise. They have to learn how to love their parents, not necessarily for just what they do, but for who they are. Mm-hmm. And I'm struggling now with learning to love people for who they are, and even God. Not just loving him for what he does, but for who he is. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, there is a way to create a loving child, and I think it really starts with downloading love, eyeball to eyeball, in those, especially those first 6 months, and especially those first 6 years, and then it just never stops. And when a mom and dad want that child to feel and experience love, it's eyeball to eyeball. Learned that from my wife. Hadn't seen it done at any other time the way she does it. But then you continue that in the other years. If you haven't had that, then you really can, I think, get the full impact of that unloving parent out of your system by getting the kind of Christian counseling, not just anybody, but somebody that's really, really good with resolving those initial relationships from our families of origin. And when you do that and you do the work, you're accepting them as human beings, forgiving them for their mistakes. You're not excusing it. You're seeing them realistically, but all of it separates their domination of your soul and heart and character. But it takes work. A 12-step program actually will help you, if you work those steps hard and well, that can help you get to that place also. So of really not having the full impact of the behavior of the unloving parent. Alice, what are your thoughts here?
Susie, to grow up in such a home where you all hated your father and didn't feel much grief when either one of your parents died, oh boy, you must have had a very tough upbringing. And just knowing that small bit of your history, it makes sense to me that you struggle in relationship with God and in relationship with other people. I wonder if it's hard for you to connect and if you feel kind of guarded when it comes to peers in your life today.
Well, I have to say it's hard to connect. I don't know about guarded. Not never analyzed it that way. But I have come to the place of loving myself for who God made me to be, and I love it. I love who I am. I've been able to set boundaries, and more so than some of my family. And I have two friends in the past that have said to me, "Boy, you sure hit it," when I explain the healing that I've come into and the trauma I've come from. And they never knew. They just never knew. And I wasn't good at hiding it. I was one of those scared kids. I hid behind my mother's skirts and couldn't speak up, certainly would never be on stage, hated it when I was singled out, and couldn't take criticism. Just couldn't. And so now I can. And so I have enjoyed the last 22 years of safety, of strength.
You have done so much hard work to get to where you are. And it sounds like you really tried to.
Hard work.
Yes, and you've tried to establish different relationships with people in your life now. So I think you're on the right process, and you have been for many years. And what I would ask you to do in relationship with these other safe women that you have in your life is to continue to let them see the softer side of you, the scared side, the vulnerable side of you. You'd said, yeah, it can be hard to connect, but I've never thought about it as being guarded. I would guess that you have had to be guarded at least up to this point that you've done so much change in your life. You've had to be guarded because of the home that you came from. And I think it would be hard to trust God in your situation as well, because it's easy to think, to wonder, why would God give me these parents? Why would he put me in this kind of a home? Why would he let me suffer so much? As you laugh, I wonder if you've had that thought a time or two. So how hard? Yeah. Yes,
yeah. I've reconciled it. I thank God for the past. I thank God for the growth that's come out of the past. The understanding that I have of other people in similar situations where they're just frozen, they're stuck, they don't know how to love, and I explain that that's something I had to learn, and how I learned it, and so it's a good testimony in that regard. And but my question is, how do you, I realize that I love God for who he is, and I'm loving people for, I'm sorry. I love God for what they do, what the people do and what God does.
Yeah, right.
Loving actions, I get that. But how do you love someone for who they are I'm in a caregiving situation now in my life. I'm 74, still have to work. And by the way, in all of that, I support your ministry,
thank you,
Club New Life, and I love you guys. Tell everybody
I would just
that
say
I know
this
about your program.
I just wonder if this is it. When you haven't had that authentic love from a healthy parent, the feelings of love are so hard to experience in a natural way, a healthy way. And I wonder, if you could start to see that in the absence of the feelings, you really might love people beyond what they do. It just doesn't feel like what you believe love should feel like. I don't know. It's something to think about.
I'm sure you're right. The feelings aren't there.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that you're mean to them or that you don't appreciate the value of them or that you don't love them.
On Friday night, we got into an argument, and I stayed in the car outside for 2 hours. I knew what the right thing to do was to go.
The New Life Intimacy and Marriage Workshop is coming to Washington, D.C. June 28th to the 30th.
I know this stuff, but it's so hard to do. I hear it, I read it, and I'm always getting in my own way. I'm always expecting my wife to go first.
Join Steve Arterburn.
We believe that everybody has room to grow in the intimacy level of their life.
And Milan and Kay Yurkovich.
We help couples understand how their attachment style is sabotaging their current relationship. And then we teach them how to create comfort in a relationship.
And New Life's group leaders will help you focus on the area that will benefit your marriage most. To register or to find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 or go to newlife.com.
My biggest takeaway was to just get out of my way and go first.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back and we're talking with Susie. We hear this often, folks that don't feel like they love others and they kind of get off on, I see what they're doing. I have some feelings about that. I care about that. It's really complicated. Alice, you had a final comment here, I think, that might provide some insight or help.
I do, because I think that love is a decision more so than a feeling. And sometimes the good feelings come along with it, but they're not always there. Mm-hmm. And God calls us to love despite how we're feeling. And he often calls us to love very difficult people who are the holy sandpaper in our lives. And we may do for them, but not feel the love for them. And it sounds like Susie has come to that in her life. She helps us. She helps people around her. She's even a caregiver. But it's not necessarily easy to feel the feelings of love for those people. Mm-hmm. So Susie and others, I just want to encourage us that we would keep the actions going, because the actions often generate the feelings. We can also ask God to bring feelings of emotions of love to our heart when perhaps out of safety we had to shut that part of our heart down because there were people around us who were not safe, like our parents at times.
Mm-hmm. So I hope that helps a bit. I'm going to send you a copy of Dave's book, that Forgiving the Unforgivable, and then maybe also I'll send you Understanding and Loving a Person with Narcissism. Maybe that could provide some insight here. Just I want to encourage you to find some place to do a structured growth plan, where you say, I'm going to get with some people. We're going to deal with the toughest things for me to deal with. I'm going to talk about them out loud with those people and just see, you do that for 6 months or so, you might find that you've really made some progress in some areas that you didn't know that you could really change or impact. And I hope that would help you. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll send you the Life Recovery Bible and the workbook, and let maybe that be the place where you could do some really great growth work in the presence of some other people that could be part of that too. All right, I'm really glad you called. Thanks for supporting us, and I really think that just the fact you support us, it shows you have love there. I mean, you're supporting us so we can help other people. That's a very loving thing to do, even though it might not feel so much like it. All right. So glad that you called us. Larry Sonnenberg's in the studio. Larry, let's talk about some great things going on this summer, some needs that we have, and especially our need for folks to come in and alongside and help us and support us in all that we do.
Yes, sir. We are we're in the middle of this matching campaign. We're making progress, but we're going to need some more. We have until July 31st to meet the match, and I want to come back to that in a minute, but I want to just remind people why we do what we do and what their gifts support when they make a gift. I've been looking at closing thoughts that we ask men to make at the end of every men's battle. Right. Got a bunch of them, but here I just want to read one. I learned many things over this amazing workshop. I learned that God's rate of redemption is faster than our rate of destruction. I have worth, and nothing can take God's yes from me, and that I can experience healing from abuse, neglect, hate, worthlessness, and shame. My mind can be changed, my heart can be full, and I can feel like a son and treated like more than a brother by total strangers that I met just 2 days ago. And I can walk out a changed life with them. It won't be easy, but I accept redemption and now move forward to do the next right thing, one micro decision at a time. Some things are my fault and some aren't, but Jesus' grace completely covers them just the same. I have hope, I feel encouraged and empowered. Just do the next right thing one step at a time. Reach out, be willing to do the hard thing, and be there for one another. And I love that. The guy walks in, doesn't sense hope about anything. He's full of shame, regret. And he walks out of there and he's got hope and new connections. And that's what it's about.
It really is. And, everybody that supports us, you are part of that transformation. Every person. And, I know, we hear the folks say, I know the blessing that you get when you finally say, okay, I'm going to help this this and just try it. I really do believe you will be fulfilled yourself. And then when you hear about the other people getting help, it's just going to be to your account. So can't do it without you. And we sure are grateful for the ones that are working with us, and we're doing it with you.
And so if you're one of those people that has always thought, I wish I could do more, this is the time you can.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
Your $20 gift will become $40. If 50 becomes 100. Whatever you're going to give, we'll get double that amount realized to the ministry. So thank you, everybody who has been giving. We just love that people step up and help us meet our needs.
Amen. Thank you, Larry. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. If you can help us, a gift of any amount, I send you an insulated, wonderful, thermal insulated bag that you take to the grocery store or camping. Hot stuff stays hot, cold stuff stays cold. You don't even have to use a switch to tell it what to do. 1-800-NEW-LIFE if you can help us. Well, there's the music. We'll hold on here. We'll go to Dave right after this. You're listening to New Life Live. Be in the studio for another hour and a half, and so we're going to get to your call. And I'm really glad that you're hanging on there. If you are struggling alone, we want to struggle with you. And when you have somebody struggle with you, it's amazing how that impacts the impact of the struggle. It gets better. Let us help you. Call us 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That is the number. And if you can't get through, keep calling. But people, they woke up today and they said, we're going to work, we're going to change some lives. Always ask them, have you saved anybody's life today? I'll say, yes, I have, because they do. And it's exciting to see it happen. We'll be back right after this.
My wife had found me out through my past and my sexual addiction since I was a small child. It really gave me the opportunity to start digging into my past, start digging into my childhood, figure out what was causing me to feel the way I was feeling. Every Man's Battle will really give you that opportunity because all the guys there in that room are there for the exact same reason you're there. I don't want to be the reason that my kids are going to counseling. I don't want to be the reason that they begin to struggle with the same issues that I'm struggling with, and I've got to put an end to this. Yes, you can be different. God does love you. You can be forgiven for this, and there's a way out of this. But you have to acknowledge that you have to change and that there's a problem.
If you're struggling, call us. There are people on the other end of the line who want to hear from you, who want to help you. We don't want you to hand down something to another generation that just looks like pain and destruction. You can hand down redemption, but you got to take that first step. Just give us a call. It's 1-800-639-5433. It's 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Last year, after Every Man's Battle, I was so moved by the transformation that I saw not only in myself, but in the guys in our small group and the other people that were there and the stories that I heard, that I decided to go ahead and join Club New Life as a contributor to that.
You can help New Life Live stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433.
You guys are doing God's work here. You're restoring marriages. You're giving people hope. It's just been such a blessing to me, and I just wanted to encourage you all. When you see something good that God's doing, just jump on that and help support that.
Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433.
Give your support to them if you can, and just help them do what God's doing here in the world.
Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. Glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Right, Steve Arterburn here. Really glad you're with us here today. And let's go to Dave, Yorba Linda, California. He is listening on a podcast. So, hi, Dave. How are you?
Hey, I'm great. Thanks so much for taking my call. Really excited to get to talk to y'all.
Well, thanks for calling.
About a little over, just under 4 years ago, my duplicitous life was exposed to my wife and our family, and I'm in recovery over sexual addiction, something I've been struggling with ever since I was young. And really thankful for 12-step recovery therapy. Our faith community came around us, and my heart and mind are different, and I'm able to work with others. So really, really thankful for 12-step recovery. My question for the group is this. So one of the things that I've learned about is that changing my neural pathways and thinking differently, changing actually the way my brain works. But I'm in meetings with guys, and every now and again I'll hear something like, well, I've just got an addict's brain, and that's never going to change. Mm-hmm. And, like your screener so wisely said, I don't want to be that guy that's like, well, my brain changed, and I've experienced this. You can do it too. But, I want to share encouragement and my experience, strength, and hope with others. So I'm interested to know your take on that kind of relationship with others in the group. And also, even though I've experienced heart and mind change and I'm experiencing recovery, one thing my therapist warns me about, or has warned me about, is, there's always Pirate Dave that's ready to say, hey, this is a good idea, try this, and, shipwreck me again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I got to be careful, and every day, slay that beast. So my question is twofold, I guess.
Okay.
Any guidance, any insight, advice for dealing with friends who are kind of, defeatist about their ability to change, and then guidance, insights about not getting cavalier about the change that I've experienced?
Well, first, let me start, and then I go right to Alice. I think, of course, there are pathways that form, but the thing that Alice can talk to you about is the plasticity of the brain, which we just more and more believe in, that it can change. But here's what where I think this you can't change this alcoholic brain thinking comes from. I think it's a distortion of what is true. It isn't the addict brain that can't change. It's the alcoholic body that can't change. And then some of that talk gets carried over into when you have a process addiction like sexual addiction. So an alcoholic, it's really important for them to see that no matter how brilliant or spiritual they get, they aren't going to get a different body to drink with. So it's important to be saying, you have an alcoholic body. It's a physiological thing, this addiction with alcohol. And no matter how long you've been sober, you start drinking again, that addiction is there. Because some people don't really believe in physiological addiction or even biological predisposition when it comes to alcoholism. They call it the alcoholic brain. I'm telling you, an alcoholic brain 1 year into recovery, I believe, is a very different brain if you are healthy 5 years later. But really, what I think is being said here is that there are some patterns, some thinking, some delusions, some denial that's easy to fall back into. And that's the message of when they say the addict brain. So I say, yeah, let people live with that caution to not fall back into those patterns. I think it's good that you don't want to tell somebody something that causes them to slip up. But when we truly transform our minds, renew our minds with God's truth, that's a change in a brain and a heart and a soul that somebody that doesn't know Christ, doesn't study God's word and make it part of you, they're not going to experience that. Now, having said all those things, which is kind of like throwing confetti at the problem, Alice, what are you thinking here on the addict brain never changing?
I think you covered that really well. So I want to go in a different direction.
Okay.
First, Dave, we are so proud of you. We love getting calls from fellows like you. You are humble, you're salt of the earth, and you've done a lot of hard work for yourself, for your family, and now for other men that are in recovery. So thank you very much. And to your question, I've had to come to the idea myself of really embracing inadequacy and weakness. It's something I struggle with on my own, that I'm not enough. I can't change this. I can't do that. I'm not good enough. And rather than fighting it, I embrace it. And it's because of 2 Corinthians 12:9 that I can embrace how inadequate I am. Because then when I know that I am lost, that I'm not enough, that I might relapse again, then that leaves the room for God to come in, and that leaves his power room to be made perfect in my weakness. So when fellas say that to you, I think I might respond with, you're right. You can't change your brain on your own, and I couldn't either. Tell you the truth, I'm still afraid I might relapse. I've got to stay on my toes every day. I battle every day for my sobriety because I'm not enough. But that's why being in a group, that's why reaching out to my higher power, that's why I need to do those things every day, because you're not enough and I am not enough either. But we can get the right kind of help to have the help change us rather than us changing ourselves.
I like that.
Right
what
on.
do you think?
Thank you.
Yeah. And,
That's gold.
And here's some goal filling. And that would just be, we in recovery and in meetings, to always err on the side of humility is never an error.
Mm-hmm.
And so often, you'll hear people say, well, here's what I did, and, you all be able to do it too. Well, God, of course, deals with different people in different ways. And so I really love your caution, and I'm really glad that you called, and I think it just might be an inspiration to other people, to really look at how we are talking to other folks, what is our message to other folks, so that, just maybe somebody's listening to this and they're going to say something different in the meeting that they attend tonight than they would have if you hadn't stepped up and talked to us a little bit. So thank you for that. Thanks a lot for that. All right, let me send you a copy of Every Man's Bible. It's a great Father's Day gift for anybody. I'm going to send it to you, and maybe you didn't get one for Father's Day, but thank you, and God bless you, and keep on listening here. Let's talk with, how about we talk right over here, Tammy, Houston, Texas, KKHT. How you doing? What's going on?
Hi, Steve. Thanks so much for taking my call.
Yeah.
My question is, how do I work on my approach? I'm not getting through to my husband. We've been battling, trying to recover from an affair that he had, some addiction, and, I kind of feel we continually go back to where we started from. A lot of hopelessness, and my therapist is saying maybe I need to work on my approach, which honestly, after all this time, I think I've tried every approach possible, but maybe I'm not in tune. I need to figure out where I can go to help get some guidance on different approaches.
Okay. Alice, what do you think here? What would you say here that could be helpful, insightful, other than watch her approach?
Well, Tammy, I have a couple questions for you. First of all, do you two have children?
We do, but not together. We've been married 12 years, and we have children from previous marriages. So blended family is an issue, too.
And how old are they?
28 to 15.
Okay. And what's your husband's approach to dealing with his affair and his addiction?
Shame, guilt, hide from it. He wishes it just could be completely forgotten about. And he wants me happy.
Did he get any help?
He's been to Every Man's Battle. We've been to Your Marriage Intensive. This is just my wounded position. He's very good at checking the boxes, doing everything that I ask him to do. It's just the intimacy and the connection. We just can't get it back.
Okay.
And are you two together in ongoing couples counseling?
We are. We on and off for the last 5 years. We've probably seen 3 or 4 different people, and it kind of, I have to admit, it kind of always seems to come back to me. Maybe I'm hanging on too hard, but I always seem to go back to, well, I need him to be part of it too. My feeling is I don't want to be in charge of this. I kind of want him to take charge of it and help me feel better.
I think you're right about that. I would want him to be initiating as well and be the one keeping it going. So how frustrating for you that you're suffering and you're the one initiating all the treatment. As we come close to the break, do you believe he's been sober, both sexually sober and whatever the addiction was?
I do. I really do. I think I've got a pretty good handle on believing that. We never know, but yes, yes, the answer is yes.
Okay. And so he's doing stuff, but the stuff he's doing, it's just not playing out at a heart level is what I'm hearing. We'll be back after this.
I feel blessed to have had this opportunity for my needs to be met, connecting with other women who are fighting the same fight, hoping for healthy marriages and growing closer to the Lord on their journey.
My name is Shelly Martinkus, and I want to personally invite you to the Restore Workshop. If you have been affected by betrayal, it might be that your husband has been looking at pornography, it might be an emotional, physical affair. I would love for you to come join us.
I feel encouraged and hopeful that even in my struggle, I am enough.
You will leave with hope, with a community of sisters ready to support you, and you will also leave with tools to move you forward on this journey.
Through the sharing in our small group, I realize that I am not alone.
Please don't hesitate. Pick up the phone, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. I would love to see you there.
The Restore Workshop is coming to Dallas, Texas, July 19th to the 21st. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE to find out more. That's 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
I'm an addict, and I'm trying to get God in my life again.
You seem to be able to get to the crux of a problem quickly.
Our Christ-centered treatment programs can help you break free to embrace all that God has for you and your family.
I just want to thank you guys for bringing me to a relationship with Jesus.
There really is help for marital problems, depression, addictions, panic attacks, and feelings of hopelessness.
I came back with so many tools to help me prepare myself to
fight this struggle and this battle that I have every day.
You can start living again today, living the life God intended for you. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
They did care, and they did follow up very lovingly, and it made all the difference in my life.
Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Someone who cares is waiting at the other end of the phone. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Just call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. 1-800-639-5433.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Yep, we are back. Really glad you're with us here and got a few minutes here on this program. Got a whole other program to do after this, so hang on the line there. We'll get to your call. But right now, here is a situation, Tammy, where you've done all these things. And I'm curious if you guys do anything other than stuff like this, or do you do anything where you enjoy doing things together? What, you have fun together, anything like that?
Yes, we do. We make great effort to go on little trips and do activities together. And I honestly, it's back to me. I think it builds up an expectation in me that, the connection is coming back, and then I get very disappointed when I realize that it's not.
Yeah.
And I say that by when I try to say I get triggered or get sad. He can't handle talking about that. He's very defensive, and,
That's too bad.
Guilt, ego, I'm not quite sure what it is.
Tammy, when you express this to him, if I really wish you would initiate more, what does he say in reply?
He can't make me happy. He
can't do enough to make you happy.
He feels will never be able to do enough.
And has he ever been checked for and treated for depression?
No, he is ADD, and I've had that conversation with him before, but it's really not gone further. I think you're right. I think that's something we should address. But again, my approach doesn't seem very effective in any aspect.
Well, I wonder if it would be, detrimental or helpful if you told him, I finally just called New Life and told them we'd done so many things that they recommend to help, and what do they suggest? And you both probably ought to be checked for depression, and see what comes up.
Oh.
And
I like that.
Depression would be such a normal thing to be struggling with, given that you both had previous marriages. Now you've gone through the affair, the addiction. So it would be normal to be depressed. And an evaluation with a clinician could show that. There's so many good treatments for depression, whether it's medication or counseling, that are really effective for it. I'm also going to ask you to pray boldly, if your husband will do it with you, I hope he will, against the enemy, because the enemy loves to keep a man down like this who's done so much good work on his sobriety, but to keep him weighted down by shame and guilt and a sense of hopelessness about the future of the marriage. Pray against the enemy, bind the enemy.
Yeah, and we were talking with a mother, and I was saying, don't, be trying to encourage a child to do what they can't do. And so just more pressure to do things when he's proven he's not able to do them at this stage, that probably wouldn't be wise. It's probably, there's going to have to be some level of acceptance of where he is now. But I'd say, I really believe if you could just have the both of you go see somebody and deal with that depression issue, there might be something that would open up there that could change, things really for the good, for good. So hold on, and we'll try to get you some help there. And then let me send you a copy of, and I'm sure you've read everything that we've done probably, but let me send him Every Man's Bible and see, we can get him reading God's Word more. And for you, I'll send you a Restoration Bible and hope that could be a blessing to you, because there is transformational power in God's truth. That's what it says. I believe it. I've witnessed it. I've seen it. All right. Let's go to, wait, we're just out of time. If you will hold on, we'll get to your call right after this. But, man, where does that time go? Alice, great job of time flying right on by. Mm-hmm. If you need some help, we can help you. We wish we knew who needed help. We don't. You have to call us first. And sometimes we realize that a phone can be quite heavy.
Yes.
But just pick it up and come. Let us give you the help that we can give you. So many people have been helped. And here's the thing, there's so many complex issues, and we just heard another example of not one thing ever is going to fix everything. We have to work, we have to keep going. Progress can be slow, it requires patience. But I really believe God honors those who are diligent in their in whatever it is that they need to do, and they persevere and they do the work that needs to be done, rather than expecting God's just going to step in and make everything all better. If we were still in the garden, that would happen.
Steve, you said we can't go wrong with humility. And I think the Bible says that over and over again. You will get blessings if you can humble down, if you can admit your own part. And I want to add to it, you can't go wrong by building another person up either, by pointing out the genuine, true, good things that you see them doing, or the absence of the previous toxic behavior. It can do a heart so much good to hear that kind of encouragement.
And how can you even, in a million years, justify anything but doing that? Well, you really can't. I mean, you can try to justify, but it's not justifiable. When it comes down to relationships, we talk about a lot of different things, but here's the big question for a lot of people. Do you have compassion for the other person? And are you kind to them? That's just kind of a minimal level thing. If you're a believer, the Lord says we got to love our neighbor as ourselves. Well, love that neighbor that's sleeping in the same bed with you, being kind to them, doing for them, to them, what you would want to have done to you. Well, I'm really glad that you have joined us. Now, if you support us, here's what I'll send you. $30 a month, I'll send you $129 worth of the best books that have ever come out of our co-hosts here. These are fantastic books like Boundaries, How We Love, Changes That Heal, Healing is a Choice, Intimate Deception, Forgiving, What You'll Never Forget, Every Man's Battle, and The Secrets Women Keep. If you have all those books and you support us at $30 a month, what a great gift to your church library or some other place. It's just our way of saying thank you. You become part of the foundational giving family right here at New Life. Can't do it without you. It makes the world go round. It really does here at New Life. So if you can, call us, support us, and at $30 a month for Club New Life. Now, if you give a gift of any amount, it gets matched, and we send you a royal blue insulated tote bag, and it is great for taking to the supermarket. It is also great to go camping with, keeps the things cool, and it's waterproof and all of that. It's got our logo on it, and I just can't thank you enough for supporting us, but that's the way that we get the support. Also, I designed a T-shirt. It costs $100, and on the back it says, I saved a person's life, and all I got was this T-shirt and a tremendous amount of satisfaction. So it's very overpriced but undervalued, because every one of those helps somebody to get better. So we know that the Lord loves a cheerful giver, and we cheerfully give back to you as our way of saying thank you. Your support to us allows us to help in ways that, most people, you're just not equipped to do it, but that's what we were designed for. That's what we were called to do. And oh my goodness, do we ever love helping people and watching their lives transform. If you're on our call board, you just hang in there, hold on. We'll get to your call right after this. Really glad you're on there. You are listening to New Life Live. Thank you, Dr. Alice Benton. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. If you need help, 1-800-NEW-LIFE. If you can help us. God bless you, and see you next time.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you. But you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.